Welcome back to Talkin' Yanks Sharp Stats episode. We have the queen of stats here with us, Katie Sharp. Jake's here. I'm here. We are coming to you live from the Roosevelt Studios in the Bronx. We got back on the Sharp Stats grind last week. We talked about Paxton. We talked about Wader. We talked about the schedule and the playoffs. We got more topics today. We are excited to be chatting with you guys. Katie, how are you?
I'm doing great. Probably pretty much like every other Yankee fan in this great world. Things are really good, and I'm just excited to get to see them play. I mean, obviously, we're taping this on Tuesday, so we got a little bit of a lull here as the hurricane passes through New York City or whatever. But yeah, it's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to these little 7-inning double headers too. I think that's going to be a little bit of an interesting little twist on the season.
Yeah, I totally forgot. We were planning out our day for yesterday a little bit, and Big Baby David mentioned 7 innings, and I was like, oh, totally forgot about that. And that's Saturday should be pretty exciting. I mean, for Garrett Cole, he's one of the few guys in baseball that could be an easy complete game. So fingers crossed for that. And just a little heads up to Yankees fans, enjoy the lull a little bit, because then I think we're doing 6 games in 4 days.
Yeah, it's gonna be crazy. Who's pitching in the doubleheader today as people listen to this?
I think it's Montgomery was announced, or no, Happ was announced maybe.
It's got to be Happ. We haven't seen him in a while.
Yeah,
Happ
I don't think they've announced it yet.
Let's see. Yankees
All right,
probable pitchers. I'll get there for a little bit.
I'm excited for Cole to pitch in one of these 7-game doubleheaders, and I'm excited for them to bullpen one of these doubleheaders.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like I'm looking at just on ESPN.com. They've got Montgomery in the first game and then undecided in the second game. So this is, obviously Tuesday afternoon we're taping this. So when people are listening to this, I'm sure they will know who's on the bump. But I think it should be Cole's turn on Wednesday, no?
On Saturday. Because Cole pitched Monday.
Oh, yeah. Saturday, yeah. Cole just pitched. All right, whatever.
Well, it's not a main topic today, but we do want to just come back to it a little bit, and it is starting pitching. We did a lot of talk about Paxton and his velo issues and the arm slot issues. He came out in the next game. He looked just as bad to the eye. Katie, quick recap. Does the eye test match the numbers? Was his velo just as bad? Was his arm slot just as bad? Do we still have the same exact worries about James Paxton?
One word, yes.
Okay, there's your update.
That's not good enough though. But it might be even worse because his average velocity on his four-seam fastball was actually down from what we talked about last week. If you remember last week on the show, we said that he had a 92.4 mile per hour average on his fastball with a max of 93.8. And you compare that to last year when it was a 95.4 average and 100 max. Well, Sunday, it was 91.5 miles per hour, so about another tick down, and he hit only 92.9. So he didn't even hit 93, according to StatCast. And one of those wow stats that I know, Jimmy, that you love, last year, 97% of the pitches that he threw were 93 miles per hour or higher. And, of course, on Sunday he did not reach that.
97%?
Yeah, 97%. It's like,
Yanks got to skip him a start if this is the case.
And I mean, the thing that worries me is that Boone keeps saying it's not physical, that he feels like he's healthy. The other notable thing is that his release point did go up a bit from last week. Not quite where it was last year. It's sort of in the middle of what he had in his first start and what he was at last year. But so maybe he is trying to tweak his mechanics. But I also looked at, all his other pitches. They're all way down about the same amount. His cutter is down about 3 ticks. His changeup is down about 5 ticks. His curve is even down a couple ticks. So there's definitely something going on. And I also looked at what he did last year by month. So if, maybe he is a slow starter or something like that. A lot of people are asking me that. No, basically every single month was around in the 95s. Like a 95.3, 95.5, 95.1, something like that. They basically all varied within, 0.2%. So this is not normal for him, and frankly, it's not normal for any pitcher that should be healthy and in tune.
Sucks. I mean, I don't think there's another word for it. It's you hope he's getting better. You hope there is a buildup, but especially in today's modern day baseball, I mean, where fastballs are at. I mean, if you're throwing 91 up there, that's me. For a guy that normally has an elite level fastball when it's right, 98, 99. I think he topped out at 100 last year. So scary times. Yeah.
He had 100 last year?
I think wasn't 100 his top.
Yep, that was his max. And it's especially true, I think, for Paxton because he doesn't have the elite spin, the spin efficiency of a guy like a Garrett Cole or a Justin Verlander, who they also throw pretty hard, but they also have that elite spin where they can throw it high in the zone and get those whiffs. What Paxton does is he really just throws it high in the zone and gets the whiffs without the spin normally when his velocity is up. But now with basically a fastball that is average spin and average miles per hour, he is doomed pretty much.
It's no surprise that Clark Schmidt is on the same schedule as he is. I think we'll see them get hot swapped out quickly. Enough doom and gloom and bad stuff. The main topic for today is a very fun, a very positive one. It's the big fella. It's Aaron Judge. He is absolutely dominating baseball right now, and I'm sure you have some fun tidbits and stats to match with the eye test for him. What do we got on Judge?
Well, basically, this entire segment could be like my stat of the week.
Okay.
But anyways, what I'll do first is I just kind of want to go through some of the stats and then go through what I'm seeing with the numbers in terms of breaking down what his start means and how he's basically become, very early, but probably the best player in baseball right now this season. So first of all, he had that binge when he went on a homer in 5 straight games, which, as we know, was the longest streak by a Yankee since A-Rod did that in 2007. We remember A-Rod won the MVP that year, so things are portending good already. And he has now 6 homers in 9 games. And, despite the Yankees not playing as many games, he still leads the majors, and this is as of Tuesday. He leads the majors in home runs, tied for the lead in RBIs, leads in runs scored, slugging, OPS leads. I mean, he's got black ink all over his Baseball Reference page right now. It's kind of ridiculous.
It's a really cool way to say it, Katie. It's a really cool way to say it.
Yeah, it's kind of like what Mike Trout looks like every day, but, a little Mike Trout here, our big Mike Trout. One other thing I want to just point out, and everybody probably has noticed this, is just how clutch his home runs have been. And, clutch is not a real thing, right? Except when it's a 60-game sample and small samples, anything can happen, even clutch. So basically this year, 5 of the 6 home runs have given the Yankees a lead. Seems pretty good. And since last year, and I tweeted this stat out a lot, so you guys may have heard it, but 20 of his 33 home runs, that's 61%, have given the Yankees a lead since the start of last year. And if you want to compare that to the rest of the major leagues, the average is about 31%. So basically twice the league average is what Judge does in terms of giving his team the lead with his home runs. So we've already seen him have these 2 incredibly dramatic home runs in the 8th inning and 9th inning, I think it was, already this year. So, I love it. I love what I'm seeing. And the stats are just incredible. And it's really a testament to his health, I think. You can see what he's been doing. And he's healthy now, and this is what he looks like when he's healthy. So the first thing I want to point out, just kind of breaking down his start, is the pull power that he has. And one of the things last year, of course, that Yankees Twitter loved to point out was that he didn't pull his first homer last year until August 20th. So that was, I believe, sort of in the 70th game or something that he had played, because he obviously had been injured.
Right.
So this year, 5 of his 6 home runs have already been pulled. So last year he had 6 of his 27 home runs were pulled. And if you look at the percentage of the batted balls that he's pulling last year, 2/3 of all the batted balls he's pulling, of all his batted balls have been pulled this year. Compared to last year, that rate was about 38%.
And
so
Katie,
there is definitely.
I don't want to stop you from rolling on the stats because I'm writing them down because you said there's so many we can take from this. So I plan on stealing a lot of these. But and this is kind of personal outside of the stats for a little bit. Do you guys feel like is it just health? Is it approach a little bit? Because I know it did get blown up a little bit last year, too much because he was hitting a lot of home runs the other way. But it does feel like in recent games, I mean, he hammered that double down the line. He's pulling it. Do you think it's health, it's approach, or when Aaron Judge is right, he just does whatever he wants?
I'm going to say I think it's when he's right, he does whatever he wants. Because if you look at his opposite field power for his entire career, I mean, going opposite field is not a bad thing for him because he is so strong. I mean, this guy is a monster. He has actually, since 2017, which is, obviously his debut, its first regular season in the majors, he has the highest opposite field slugging percentage of any player. So it wasn't just last year, where last year I think last year was the injury. It's the oblique. And I remember I heard a segment on MLB Network with I think it was Mark DeRosa, who basically said that, when you have like a hurt oblique, you can't create that torque that you need to get around on balls, to pull the ball. So he was kind of just forced to just shoot it the other way and just push it towards right field, I think last year. And he did pretty well with that because he is so strong. But when Judge is right, he's pulling the ball, he's hitting it the opposite field, he's hitting it to straight away. And I think he can't get too pull happy. I mean, I think that's always a concern for people, that they just try and pull everything. But I think that Judge has the smarts to be able to kind of just to balance it enough. I mean, ridiculous. Like this year, like his slugging pull side is 1.667, and that's about twice of what it was last year. Where his opposite field is a little bit lower than last year. So when he's right, he's just crushing everything basically. Obvious statement.
Are all of his expected stats there? Like no one can pull it. I know the answer, but no one can say like he's just getting lucky or that's he's hitting into good luck. Like because of how hard he hits it.
Yeah.
He's not, but he hasn't found any gloves.
Hard to get lucky when you hit it 470.
But like Gary can rope balls, and then you'd be like, well, he's just finding gloves. It seems like everything's landing.
His expected stats pretty much match up. He actually has right now. He has the highest. He's tied for the highest exit velocity in the majors. Average exit velocity. That's about 98.1, which is actually higher than what he had last year. His barrel rate, which I think we've talked about this on the podcast before. It's basically the best combination of exit velocity and launch angle. So his barrel rate is up from last year. Basically, the only thing that is slightly down is his hard hit rate, which are balls 95 miles per hour and up. But I'm not really worried about that because, I mean, he's getting the most optimal balls. Like he's getting the right angle and the right velocity, exit velocity. So I don't really like to focus on just exit velocity, because I mean, as we've seen, Stanton hits 1 million ground balls that go 120 miles, but they're into the ground and they're gobbled up by fielders. So I really encourage people to look not just at exit velocity, but also launch angle when you're evaluating someone like that.
I'm blown away that it's down. It seems like he's hitting every ball hard. Yeah.
It's really tough because when you look at just like percentage, I mean, maybe last year he had a ton that were like in the 95, 96, and that may have propped up some of his hard hit rate. This year, I mean, maybe he's hitting it hard, but he's also got a few that, you just are skewing that. So I'm not really concerned about his hard hit rate being a little bit down because of the fact that his barrel rate is up, the barrel plus the sweet spot is up, all those types of things.
And it's only down for him.
You're right.
Yeah, it's only down for him, and it's down like about less than 2 percentage points.
Which I'm guessing is still way above the average player.
Yeah. It's way above the average. Yeah. I mean, the average is 35, and he's at 56. So
almost double.
I don't know. I don't know if you prep this or if it's easy to find, but the home run he hit against Boston comes on a 2-0 curveball, be it a terrible hanging curveball in the middle of the zone. Is Judge hitting every type of pitch right now? Is he hitting off speed?
That's kind of the thing that I wanted to get to next, actually. So
perfect
segue there, Jim. So basically, one of the quotes that really stood out to me from Judge in some of his Zoom interviews was, he said, "Right now, it's just about not missing my pitch. When there's times they leave one over the plate, I've got to do some damage on it." And basically, that's kind of the story of his season right now. And this has not really been true for Judge in the past. So just kind of some numbers to put this into perspective. So he is swinging at about 75% of pitches that are in the zone this year, which is actually a really high number. His career average is about 65%, and that's about what the major league average. So he's swinging at strikes, which is obviously always a good thing. And he's also, StatCast has this metric called meatballs, which are basically, pitches like right down the middle. And he is swinging at 92% of those this year. And that's about, his career average is about 80%, and 75% is about the major league average. So he is not hesitating when he sees a pitch in the zone, in his happy zone. He is not hesitating at all. And that is I think that's really a sign of a guy that's locked in. I mean, he knows what pitch he wants to hit, and he's making them pay. And I don't know, people are going to probably adjust to what he's doing this year, because he's actually only walked. His walk rate is way down from last year. It's about 5% this year, compared to about 15%, which is his career average. So I think that pitchers are going to start to adjust, and you'll see him, be taking a few more walks and getting less, hitter-friendly pitches. But right now, he is just, taking advantage of pitchers' mistakes and crushing them. And that's, people say, oh, well, he's only hitting the bad pitches and, the pitchers that, he's hitting bad pitchers and pitchers that don't belong in the league. But, you got to beat the guys you beat, right? And you got to hit the pitches that you can hit. So, I'm not worried at all about that.
And guess what? Nobody hits the good pitches. Like that's baseball's kind of dirty secret. Nobody hits the 98 on the black dotted. So that shouldn't be a critique of Judge. And he's so locked in. And Katie, I loved the Giancarlo juxtaposition before. Not that any people need to be down on Giancarlo. He still looked great. But you're right. You see Giancarlo hit a lot of those bullet ground balls, and with shifts now, those don't get through as much as they used to. So I wonder Stanton going forward. I wonder how the rest of his season looks. Obviously expecting a lot, but in the future of his career, he's a guy who's tinkered with his stance a lot to get to the point where he's at now. I don't know. That's just kind of an interesting thing spinning through my head. If you were Giancarlo Stanton, and even if he continues at his torrid pace, you wonder if he goes to the drawing board and he says, hey, I got to stop hitting some of these bullets on the ground.
Yeah, I think that is one of the things that has always stood out to me about Judge, is that he, more so than any other player, he really is conscious about his launch angle. You don't see him hit too many of those ground balls. You see a lot of ropes. You see a lot in that, the 10 degrees, 10 to 15 degrees. And then you also see these moonshots. We saw that one, I think it was the first home run he hit this season, when it was about 40-degree launch angle. And for most people, that's, maybe dies at the warning track. But for a guy like Judge, that's no doubter going over the fence. So I see, and that's what I'm seeing this year with him. He's really he's squaring up on everything. And like I said, he doesn't think he's locked in. He said, if I go 5 for 5 and I hit every ball over the fence, then I'm locked in. But to me, he just seems really locked in this year. And, I think 99% of that might be health.
Yeah.
That quote is such a Jeter quote.
Yeah.
I mean, Jeter used to say, until you go 5 for 5 with no errors, you're not playing like your best or you're not locked in. And Judge said the same thing. He said that. I don't know if you saw the video. He said that with a sheepish smile.
Oh, yeah.
But when people just tweet it, it comes off so different than when you listen
Him
to it.
smiling that was basically saying, like, welcome to New York. Like,
Yeah.
this is how you handle the New York press. And, by the way, I feel like we've come across this a lot on Sharp Stats. And it's something that's been really eye-opening for me entering the world of baseball. If you see outliers in guys' careers or them playing really, really badly, not just a regular series slump, it's because they're hurt. I mean, look at Gary Sanchez, the year his shoulder was clearly hurt. We've seen Judge and Luke Voit when Voigt's stomach was hurt. Like, that wasn't Luke Voit. And even taking it out of Yankees culture, like Lorenzo Cain, who had a bad year last year, we found out, like, he's like, oh, yeah, he was hurt all last year. So that's oftentimes with these guys. You can spin it however you want. I'd say 95% of the time that since being thrust into this world, it's because of injuries. And he is healthy right now and a bad man.
Yep. Do you have anything else on Judge before we naturally spin it to Gary, which Jake just kind of gave us?
No, I think that's it. I'm excited to see what he can do this year if he stays healthy.
Jim, before you go there, these were my bullets. Longest home run streak by Yankee A-Rod, 07 MVP. Leads home runs, RBI slugging. 61% of homers. League average is 30. Have given the team the league. Pulling, highest oppo, slugging percentage of every player. Highest exit. So if you're either a troll on Twitter who likes to get into fights, or if you're looking for a nice tidbit to drop at the water cooler at work, I think those are good ones.
You got them. Katie's got you covered. All right, you mentioned Gary. We're talking about Gary's defense. They brought in the new catching coach, Tanner Swanson, to help improve his frame rate, help improve his setup, because he's a big dude back there. Tanner Swanson did it with Mitch Garver. Mitch Garver?
Yes.
In Minnesota. We've seen a good sample of Gary now. He's caught 3 cold starts. He's caught a bunch. Obviously, the bat has not been there at all yet. That is not what we're talking about, though. How does he rate out so far as a framer and defensively, Katie?
He actually rates out very well, especially compared to what he was last year. And he's not one of the elites, obviously, but he is now above average. And whereas last year he was far below average. So one thing I want to show you guys is StatCast actually has catcher framing metrics right now. So if you go to statcast.com or whatever the URL is, you guys know it. What they do is basically they break the catcher, they break it down into 8 zones that are sort of around the strike zone. So if you think about it, like, it's called the shadow zone. So it's like a thick border right around the strike zone. And that's what they hone in on. What they look at is the called strike percentage of all takes in those zones. So take, obviously, a non-swing. So what are the percentage of called strikes that Gary, or the pitcher, gets in those shadow zones right on the borders of the strike zone? So just overall, his strike rate, that called strike rate, has increased from 47% to 52% this year. And just for comparison's sake, league average is about 49%. So he's went from below to above league average pretty comfortably. And just another point of reference is, we all know that Kyle Higashioka is a tremendous framer, and Higashioka is about 53% this year. Obviously, a very small sample for him, but still notable that Gary is kind of almost on par with him in that regard. And then I just really wanted to focus on what parts of the strike zone he was doing better in, and really it all has come at the bottom of the zone, so those low pitches. And I think that's really that's probably a testament to his new stance, where he's getting that leg out and he's really stretching down there. And I think that they really did focus on that on the low zone. So he went from 36% of converting those non-swing pitches in the lower part of the zone to called strikes to 51% this year. So that's a 15 percentage point increase, where league average is about 40%. So he's doing really well. And I think that actually is probably the most important statistic, because we do have so many pitchers on this team that just like to throw those breaking balls, that just drop out of the zone. And those are the ones that he really needs to steal for strikes. So if he can keep that up, I think that is really going to help out the pitching staff a lot.
I think it's crazy that you say he's equal with Higgy right now, because if you watch Higgy catch and frame pitches, he's so soft. It's so natural. It's so fluid. And if you watch Gary, even with this new style, it looks so weird. It looks so robotic in a way, or like how a 10-year-old would do it. But that is what they're teaching him. Like every pitch, he's just grabbing it and like throwing it to the middle. It's not slight. It's not smooth. And people, have been tweeting at me like, why is Gary framing like that? He looks so stupid. Well, it's working.
Yeah.
It's working.
Yeah.
And, a lot of people still poo-poo framing in general because the ump should make his call. Umps are human beings. They will blank and then just look at the glove sometimes or whatever you have you. A lot of it's just hitting a spot. So, that's pretty cool. Good job, Gary.
Good job, Gary. And, yeah, there's one pitch that jumps out from Cole's last start. It was a slider that was in that shadow zone. It was 50-50 pitch, and it hit the middle of his glove, and then it just scooted to the end. And you could almost feel him and Garrett be like, that one just scooted a little too much. If it stayed middle, I think you would have got it. And it is bizarre. Like, I understand the Twitter people. When you see Gary throw it to the middle, it looks like a little kid, like the first time you tell him that you could steal strikes from the umpire if you put it in the plate. But it is what they're teaching him, and I wonder if maybe there's a process behind it, because I'm sure Gary knows that and sees that at tape. I wonder if it's almost be dramatic now and get a little less dramatic every time until you get the feel of it. Who knows? I, despite popular beliefs, am not in the catcher team meetings. So I don't know, but it is good to hear that the numbers are there at least early on.
Yeah, the numbers are definitely backing it up. I think another thing might be that he's just giving the umpire a better view also. That's one of the things I think that with the stance with the foot out and a little bit lower, I think it's just giving the umpire a more clearer view, and I think the umpires like that. Obviously it's working, and I think, like you said, it does seem a little bit dramatic right now, but I think that is part of the plan where he will just over time become more comfortable with that. The guy's been he's been doing it for a week and a half, right? In real games. So obviously he's going to be really consciously focusing on it now, and hopefully at some point it will become just kind of second nature.
Yeah, and I think that, the whole thing is not giving the ump an established bottom of the zone. That's why he just, you don't see it, and then he comes up the whole way with it. So the ump doesn't, you were aiming, you put your glove at the bottom of the zone, and then you had to move down to go get it. Eliminate that from the process. So I'm glad it's working. Hopefully the bat starts coming around. His pitch blocking has been good this year as well. So defensively an improvement. Hopefully it didn't take away too much of his efforts with the bat. Hopefully that comes around naturally.
Yeah.
We have another guy on the team who's doing things with the bat and doing things with the glove.
Speaking of naturally,
special on both sides. Gio Urshela is the talk of the Yankees right now, Katie. I think last year, I don't think he got national respect because it was very easy to call it a fluke. I do think this year fans of other teams are saying, wait, who? How did you guys get him again? I had people asking me that yesterday. Gio Urshela's going off. You have any fun stats for us on him?
I do have some fun stats.
Yes.
It's pretty crazy. Obviously we are still we're kind of still in the small sample size, because it looks like about 24, 25 batted balls that he has. You usually like to get up to around 30, 40, before you can start to make some, hard conclusions, but the numbers are still really fun. So all of his expected stats are way up. I'm talking like way up from last year. His expected slugging is up about 170 points. It's looking like it's at 689 for his expected slugging. His expected WOBA is at 560, which is about a 130 point improvement from last year, and very good. I mean, he's all in like the top 10% of the league right now, and he actually has a higher hard hit rate than Judge. We mentioned that. It's at 58%, which is pretty remarkable. His sweet spot rate is up. His barrel rate is like doubled from last year. So right now he is pretty much kind of, I want to say it, but he is locked in. And the other thing that really stood out to me is his discipline, his plate discipline. And this is also something we can kind of talk about now too, because those stats start to stabilize a little bit quicker than other ones. And his walk rate is at 14% right now, which, if you know Gio Urshela for his career, that's pretty remarkable, where he's normally at about like between 5 and 6%. The guy just loves to swing. And his chase rate, which is, swinging at pitches outside of the zone, has been cut in half. So it was 40% last year, which is actually very high. And now it's down to 21%. And so I think that's really, he's locked in. I think he's seeing the ball a lot better this year. And I don't know if it's just comfort being in the lineup for the second year here, where he feels like he really does have a role. But this is, like, so far, I mean, obviously it's still, like I said, it's still a small sample, but it is no fluke. It's not like he's getting lucky or anything. He is on a tear right now.
What I find interesting, and you talk about the walk rate and all that, is that in his first 5 games, he really wasn't hitting the ball. He only had 2 hits in the 5 games, but he had 4 walks. He got on base in each and every one of those games. If he didn't get a hit, he took his walk. Then he started playing against Boston, and he gets 2 hits, and from there he's been on a tear hitting the ball, and the walks have gone down. So it's like maybe he realized he wasn't as locked in, take some pitches, and now he's just hungry to hit. I mean, in his last 4 games, he's got 7 hits, 3 of them are home runs, 1's a double. It's just only 1 walk. He's just incredibly locked in. And even better is that even if he wasn't hitting, if he was hitting 250 right now with the 300 on base percentage, we'd still be saying run him out there at third every day, because the things he's doing with his glove. Now, I know he's not Matt Chapman. I know he's not incredibly special. I know the defensive numbers poo-poo him, and I'll respect them a tiny, tiny bit. I don't care. He's an above-average infielder and an above-average third baseman. They don't need to be a superstar. They just need to be above average. Changes innings. I would love to go back and look at the 9 games the Yankees have played and see how many innings he has changed. I would guess it's 2 every game. I think he has 2 inning-changing plays every game. He started some triple plays. He's made some special plays, even if it's just a stop that doesn't get through to the outfield. He's crazy. I don't know if you have any defensive numbers on him, Katie. They don't love him. I don't know why.
No, I mean, yeah, the defensive numbers don't love him, but they do rate him as, about an average to above average player. He's just not at that elite level at what you see. And I think one of the knocks on him is that, and the reason why the defensive numbers don't absolutely love him, is that he does make those extraordinary plays, those elite plays, the ones with the lowest probability of success. He actually has probably twice the league rate average of a conversion rate on plays that are like, below 20% or between 20 and 40% probability. It's where he struggles is that he is not 100% on the routine plays. So he's maybe at like a 96 or a 97, whereas the elite guys will be at about 99, 100 for the routine plays. And they'll also make, an above average amount of the low probability plays. So, but absolutely, he's a game changer. And I think we all know, I love my favorite stats, and I just love it so much. I want to bring it back this year that we talked about last year with the double plays. So far this year, there have been 3 double plays started by third baseman, all by Gio. So that's 3 in 9 games. Last year, we had 24 the entire season. Actually, only 18 of those were by Gio because, I think LeMahieu was at third for a little bit. And then we go back to 2018, where we know we had Mr. Andujar patrolling the hot corner. And there were 9 in 2018 double plays started by third baseman. And actually only 6 of those were started by Andujar. If we remember the Brandon Drury experiment, the first couple of games of the season, he had a couple. So that progression of 9 to 24 last year, and then already at 3 this year, is just, that's just remarkable.
Was Chase Headley doing anything in like 17, 16? Because it's not just Andujar, which set our expectations low. Chase Headley to Starlin Castro wasn't exactly lighting up the double play from third base routine either. So you have DJ over there that can turn it. The infield defense is just, and I think, that definitely goes to why Yankee fans and myself still, every time I see the double play from third base, my eyes light up. I think it's been a long, long time since since A-Rod Cano.
Yeah, A-Rod, if you want to put that into perspective, I looked at A-Rod 2007. They had 34 that year. Okay. I'm assuming most of those were by A-Rod.
That's pretty good.
Whoever. But so that's kind of what I would consider like the gold standard. Right now, the 3 is kind of among the leaders, but obviously it's so early. And if you prorate out 3 to 162 games, that's in the 50s for sure. We're not saying that they're going to get that, keep up the same rate, but yeah, it's just, it's really refreshing to kind of see. And even though we don't have like a ground ball heavy staff, it just helps so much.
Yeah, and that's a guy that, knock on wood, we hope we're talking about next week. I hope is Monty, because he's looked really good, and I think we could get into that. But yeah, whenever we stumble into it, we almost start laughing a little bit. When you add DJ LeMahieu at second, when you have Gio Urshela doing what he can do at third base, and you start thinking about the infield defense behind Monty, that can do a lot for him. Tanaka, that can do a lot for him. Garrett Cole liked it. He doesn't always need it as much as those guys. And I think the bigger thing, just like the Gio Urshela story, last year we kept waiting for the pumpkin, or to turn into a pumpkin. Is that the phrase? Did I get it right?
It's like the horse carriage to turn into a pumpkin?
Yeah, something like that. It just never happened. He was great all year. And then this year it was like, okay, we expect him to be solid, but to what level? And now he's doing it again, and A-Rod calls him the best third baseman in the AL, and everyone runs with that. But I think, it's tying into the beauty of baseball. That guys can do this. We were on Talkin' Baseball. We talked about Tyler Chatwood. He's a pitcher for the Cubs, who he's kind of revolutionized his pitch mix, and he's been looking dominant this year. Baseball, you can figure it out later. And the other thing that I think is important to know about that is, Gio Urshela is a talented dude. He was 23 years old playing with the Indians with, Lindor and Jose Ramirez when they came up. He had a really good AA, AAA in 2014. Now I'm really digging deep. Don't make me get into the Venezuelan League stats. I have those. But, it never clicked. And then he comes over to the Yankees, and who knows? We've seen this Yankees, whether it's a swing revolution or scouting department or confidence, but him, Voit, and Talkman, unreal all around. But he looks really good, and yeah, I obviously can't do the defensive analytics people with Gio, because just watch it. I did hear there's something, I think going towards the line, he's as elite as it gets. He's Chapman, he's Arenado going line side. I think going shortstop side, they were telling me he's not good, and it's like, well, I watched the Red Sox game Sunday night too, and he was good. So I don't know. It's just awesome.
Yeah, what I wanted to say was he hasn't made an error yet this season, so let's keep that going, and just all the easy plays, don't botch any of them. And then we'll get the metrics on your side, maybe.
Problem solved.
Yeah, I'm actually, it's going to be tough because it is going to be only a 60-game sample. And when you think about it with fielding, I mean, you get even fewer samples sometimes than when you're hitting at the plate. So I'm not sure that whatever metrics his final metrics are going to be this season are real, but I am interested to see at the end of the season if there are any differences, especially with the new StatCast metrics, because they do have infield defensive metrics. I think it's for the first time they'll have a full season of those this year, and they've made some enhancements to those over the offseason. So I'm kind of curious to see where those rate him going forward.
Yeah. Me as well. I have some breaking news for you, too, before we end this program. They will not be going to a 26-man roster. They will go to a 28-man roster this coming week, whenever it's supposed to be, and they'll be staying at 28 the rest of the way. That may help out Ford. It may help out Wade if they want to keep a 6-man bench, which eventually I think they'll want more pitchers. I think Tyro's going to be sent back anyway. And then they could add more pitchers. Like when Schmidt gets added, maybe he's for Tyro and stuff like that. But
it just makes a lot of sense. I mean, Yankees have 6 games in 4 days. I think the Phillies currently have 56 in 54 days. I think they said that on the broadcast. So when you start hearing that you need extra bodies, I've got 2 things before I let you go, Katie Sharp. One very pertinent to baseball. One is not at all. I was looking at 2014 top Cleveland Indian prospects, because of course I was getting into the Gio Urshela story. Number 1, Lindor. Anyone want to guess number 2?
Ramirez? Bieber? Clevenger? What year are we in?
2014.
2014. Indians.
Clint
Matt
Frazier.
Oh, Clint Frazier.
Clint Frazier. Number 4, Trevor Bauer. Number 5, Jose Ramirez. So, hey, the prospect game is crazy.
Bauer?
Bauer.
They traded
was
for him?
2014?
2014.
Wow.
Wasn't he a Diamondback?
Let me see where he was. They have him there, unless they changed the article on me. Okay, and then this is completely unrelated. May not even leave it in Talkin' Yanks, but maybe we will, because the people love it. Katie, you know some naval stuff.
Hey, wait, did you see my shirt?
I did. Not cut. I like that.
You guys see that you guys see that up there?
Not college.
Not college. I like that.
Guess what that is for?
Naval Academy, baby.
The Naval Academy is not college. Yes.
We did Laughs from the Past, our history podcast, and we stumbled into something very weird, and JOMBOY was pretty skeptical. Is something with the Navy working with sea lions to cuff underwater sea divers. Do you have any information on that? / could you get us any information on that?
No. / yes.
Okay. That's all I need.
I can ask my husband.
Okay.
So if he has any information, what was it? Naval? Wait, naval sea divers? No.
They send sea lions into the ocean to put handcuffs basically on bad guys who are in the water. Now they were practicing this in Bahrain. That's why we thought of you.
That's where my husband is right now. So that's kind of ironic. This is recent, or this is
they say this is active, that they have
Jimmy, as you can tell, is very skeptical, and I get it. But apparently they put a device on the sea lion, and then he bumps into the human, and it handcuffs their legs. So anything
Bahrain, you said this happened?
Yeah, we YouTubed like a video of it, and it was in the Bahrain U.S. base or whatever it's called.
That's exactly where he is, which is really interesting. He has not disclosed that to me. So far, he's been there about 6 months. So I will ask him next time. Maybe he can get us some video. Maybe he can get us some video for us for this show next week.
And then we'll send Jake to Bahrain. He'll be the practice criminal with the sea lion cuffs.
I want to be the sea lion.
Okay, I'll be the criminal.
Okay.
We'll do it in the backyard.
All right. Yeah, that sounds good.
We'll do it in the Bronx. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Katie. Thank you guys for listening. As always,
yes.
Tweet at Katie.
The best.
Yep. Glaber's good. Judge is good. Gary's framing's good. Paxton's still bad. Boom. That's your show. Thank you very much. We'll see you next week. Go Yanks. Tell them, Grams.
Go Yankees.